Yes, my prayer today is that He fills you with a passion for righteousness. Lord, my prayer today is that Jesus will guide you through every storm. Yes, every storm. Lord, every storm. This is my prayer today.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out, righteousness. Welcome, everybody, to the Trust in the Lord Hour. I am your host, James David, trusting in the Lord Manning, sitting in for Sabbath, Rachel LaFleur. Thank you so very much for allowing her to take over the responsibilities on yesterday. I had an optometrist appointment, and this is probably a very good optometrist, and I think he is. And you remember, this is not the place where I went, where I received that hot shot and caused me to be blind in my right eye for the past 6 years. This is another fellow I'm working with. And I have not been to see him in a couple of years, just, moving by faith. But there's just so many people that he attends to, and it takes about 3 hours to go through the full process. So, and I got an appointment prior to our broadcast time, but we thank Sabbath for sitting in for us, doing a great job on yesterday. We give the Lord and Sabbath a round of applause for what she did. Now, there are several things that we've entered into a very, very interesting time in a very interesting space. With the Solomon teaching, with the Solomon space, with the Solomon University, how is this affecting you in terms of where we are and how it aligns with everything else that's going on in the world, politically, biblically, as far as the tribulation is concerned, and in general? I know the Solomon space phenomenon that we mentioned some time ago, and I'm going to need to get one of our historians to tell us the exact date that I first made mention of Solomon space, and now we're at Solomon's University, where a large number of things are coming forward. Now, I have to tell you as well that we had planned to do just 7 weeks on Proverbs chapter 3, verses 11 through 20. But by being out on yesterday, we missed a day, so we may find ourselves over into the middle of next week with respect to our completing this process. And I'm not sure we're going to get through it in a 7-day matchup, but we'll see how far we can go. The other thing I want to be able to express is that the Solomon University is coming at a unique time for us in terms of where our ministry is, where you are, and where America is, and where the tribulation is, as I stated before. But I want to say this to you, and I'm going to read some of the tweets that we sent out. In fact, let me just read a tweet that I sent out this morning. Let's see now, tweet November 3rd. Okay, here we are. Tweet number 2, it says that Proverbs chapter 3 is the only, and I repeat, the only remedy for Hamites, for the Hamites' pursuit of freedom and equality. With God, there is no plan B. By the way, I just got off a 2-hour call a federal bankruptcy court. It was very, very interesting in this bankruptcy court hearing that we just had. And the judge suggested Plan B. And I'm just now hearing what she was saying. This is a really, really good judge. I've had some railings, as you know, at Judge Bluth and Judge Kahn and perhaps some others. This is a thoughtful, methodical, and a helpful judge, and she has suggested Plan B. I'm just now understanding it, what she was saying about why Plan B is probably our best move forward. I'll talk more about this when I have the time to talk about the foreclosure action and bankruptcy. But what she suggested in Plan B was genius. I just didn't hear it. I just didn't. Anyway, reading, going back to my tweet. Proverbs chapter 3 is the only, and I repeat, the only remedy for the Hamites' pursuit of freedom and equality. With God, there is no Plan B. for that matter. They will never be free, being Hamites, until they live Proverbs chapter 3. Today, and I'll be teaching this on the Trust in the Lord Hour. And so here, there are a large number of things I want to take the time to be able to cover, and I'm going to go over them in terms of a review with respect to the 20% increase, in terms of our abilities to grow and to accomplish and achieve. But there is also the opportunity for us to learn new, if you will, methods of power, such as using patience as a weapon against the attacks upon our individual persons, no matter who you are. That patience would be indeed a tool that can be used to increase our length of days and long life. And then, of course, making hard decisions. And I just want to put this in for the record. What the Judge Beckerman said to us today with respect to the foreclosure action is that we should make a hard decision and use Plan B. But Plan B would be our most effective way of our being able to hold on to our property and be able to achieve our means. Because that's just now coming, understanding what the judge was saying is, I'm actually excited about saying it. You'll understand more as we talk about it going forward. But let me say this to you, that unless the Hamite people, well, let me put it to you this way. Where we're at now in our segment of chapter 3, verse 11, it says, "My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord. For whom the Lord loveth, he chastens." And this is a very important verse. I'm going to ask the engineer to put it up on the screen for just a moment so we can read it and be all in lockstep with this. It says, and it's coming up in just a moment, "My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction." Now, I just read the Hamite people. We're talking about black people, African Americans. You can call them Negro or colored or whatever. They may not want to hear that Negro call anymore, or colored either. They'll take black and African American, but they're really Hamites. And I've stated that they are the only true freedom and equality that they're ever going to be able to enjoy is by addressing and living according to Proverbs chapter 3. You know, a lot of people can say, Pastor Manning, you speak a lot of hyperbole. I think that if you're going to talk for God, you're going to speak beyond human comprehensions and understanding. If you're going to talk for God, you're going to find yourself speaking things that people don't understand. But having said that, let me say this, that the only way Hamite people are going to truly enjoy true freedom and true equality, true freedom and true equality, is that they're going to have to access and live Proverbs chapter 3, at least verses 1 through 20, and I'll go through 34 if I have to. But the reason why Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11 is so important, "My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary in his correction." The last time you and I were together, I made mention of the fact that the way that a son responds to his father's authority is the way he's going to respond to every authority figure or item or principle that he meets for the balance of his days, unless there's a need for change, a recognition of a need for change. Leave that there, Mr. Engineer. See, the way a young man and a young woman both learn how to deal with authority, which could be their school teachers who are in authority, the policeman in the community who is an authority, or the employers, the people that they work for in authority, and other items such as their pastor who is in authority. Those four: school teacher, the police officer, the employer, the pastor. Just those four. Now there's a whole lot more. But the way a young man and a young woman will respond to those four in their lives is the way they respond to their father. God puts that father. Now we're talking Solomon's University, is that right? We're talking Solomon's University. God puts that father in the life of that child, whether girl or boy, to teach them authority. They are not born in authority and shaping in obedience. No, 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 no. They're not born. No child is born in authority, understanding authority, supporting authority, and then shaping in obedience. No child is born that way. So God, his name is Jesus, puts a father in the life of that child to teach them authority, how to respond to it. That father has absolute authority over the life of that child. In the same way, I might add, going forward as we go further into this teaching, the way that people respond to God or to respond to the authority of the word is how they respond to life in general. So the issue that I want to bring up after all that verbiage I just laid out before you is this, is that the way that the Hamite people have been raised without fathers and without authority have made them absolutely bereft of the ability to respond appropriately to society. So when you meet a young man and the police tells him to stop or sit down or get up, he has his father, he's lived the first 18 years of his life with no authority. He has no way of respecting that police officer. He has no internal, if you will, I don't want to use that word. He has no internal intuition to respond to that police officer the right way. He's going to do the wrong thing. He's going to do a rebellious thing. And the police is going to, in a word, in the street, in the hood, the police going to bust a cap on him. The police going to bust a cap on him. So I think that when we look at the perils of where we are at present, and I'm going to take you why this is the only thing that's going to set the Hamite man free, and thusly set all the other two sons, both Shem and Japheth, free of having to deal with Hamites in their inequality, if you will, non-freedom positions of which they presently hold across the globe. But if you've ever had to work with young Hamite men who didn't have a strong father in their life, you know, they're difficult. And they think you've lost your mind. No one has ever had the kind of authority in their lives that they need so they will respect authority. They spent the first 18 years of their life with no authority. Now, sometimes they have a father in the home and the father himself does not understand authority and he lets the children or lets his girls or boys do pretty much as they will or reject his authority. Well, it's the same thing. The only man that's truly free is a young man who's raised with a strong father. And that father exerts authority, puts the rod on his back or takes him to the edge of the city and stones him. This is a major issue. So the reason why I said that the only way the Hamite people are going to be free is because the massive problem that is so, if you will, spiritually obvious is that the reason why the Hamites, and that we're talking about black folk here, do not advance as they ought, is because of this one item. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. We're going to have to go all the way back to Genesis chapter 9, where Noah says to his three sons that Canaan is going to be the servant of both Shem and Japheth. Now listen to this very carefully. Evangelist Brown, if you're out there, Evangelist Brown, if you're there, the Elder Butler, if you're there, Elder Ramos, Elder Nimrod. Well, if anybody's out there, listen to this very carefully. Please listen to me, because going forward, I have been preaching this in so many ways, but there's a clarity now that we've entered into Solomon's space and into Solomon's University. So if you're listening, Evangelist Carter, if you're listening, September Wilson, if you're listening, listen to this. We're going to have to go all the way back to Genesis and the authority that Noah had when he chastened his son Ham and sent the punishment down to his grandson Canaan. Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? I said, are you listening to me? Now, so far over these millenniums, Hamites have despised Noah's chastening of Ham and Canaan. Are you listening? Virtuous. Evangelist Hundley, are you listening to me? Now, some speaker would probably say, Pastor Manning, in delivering a message such as this, you shouldn't involve the names and lives of other people. Yes, I'm going to do it. You see, you have probably, to the entire world, Elder Salem, the entire world has never heard this before. And that is, Hamite people, going back through the millenniums of the Bible, have despised what Noah said to Ham, that Canaan shall serve Shem and Japheth. They have despised it in so many ways over the thousands of years. But here's what I come to tell you today. That they should not despise. And when you see me, Pastor Manning, my difference is that I don't despise what God said to Ham. I don't despise it. I don't despise the chastening. I don't despise that God said to Ham that Canaan shall be a slave to Shem and Japheth. I don't despise it. That separates me from just about every other Hamite or black person or African American or Negro on the whole planet, both on top of the planet and those that are buried in the planet. Probably separates me as singularly the one man who does not despise what the Bible said when Noah chastened Ham. Are y'all listening to me? Elder Salem, are you listening to me? Are you listening to the things that I've said? Evangelist Hundley, are you listening to me? Everywhere you look, and all the platforms of Hamite people, whether it's in their music, their education, their woke programs, their critical race theory, their civil rights marches, their Dr. Kings, their Malcolm X's, all of that is rejecting the chastening that God put upon us and going down a different road. And weary of how God has corrected us. But the Bible says, whom Noah loved, he corrected. Noah loved Ham. And so he punished him. He corrected him. And he made him feel it in his own son, Canaan. Let me just retract. I don't know, and I don't listen to it, but I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'm the only Hamite, that's black man or African American on planet Earth today, that does not despise the chastening of the Lord when Noah chastened Ham. I don't know if I'm the only one. I said that a few moments ago, and I probably don't have to repeat this. But I don't know of a whole lot of others. I don't know if I can find 3 others. Now, my friends, I just listen to me very carefully. Listen to me very carefully. That until Hamite people step in line, get out of that civil rights marching, get out of that woke theory with his blasphemous anti-God, oppressive of children, get out of that critical race theory that is also blasphemous and racist and black supremacist critical race theory, get out of it, get in the Bible, and go all the way back to the starting point and say, we are no longer angry, we're no longer disrespected, we're no longer disavowing that God chastened us because he did it because he loved us. Yeah. So Solomon, writing here, can I just take a moment here to say that at this present time, it is almost impossible for me to, well, not impossible, but it is, to use a term I very seldom use. I've heard it a lot, but I very seldom use it because it isn't my taste for words. But it's almost surreal that I, James David Manning, raised up in Red Springs, North Carolina, between Shannon and Rennet and Maxton, all from Fairmount and Lumberton, that I, raised just a few miles from St. Paul's in Fayetteville and Fort Bragg, North Carolina, spent the first 18 years of my life as a sharecropper's son, would be allowed to say this. The problem is that it is so beyond regular comprehension, and because there's been such a, if you will, an influx of despising what I'm saying, it isn't going to register very far, but a few people are going to hear me. I'm amazed. What am I saying? I'm amazed that God has chosen me to say this. Should I be? I just had to stop and pause and say that. My friends, do you realize the truth that I'm speaking here? Everything you've seen black people do from the time they've been able to organize themselves out of slavery has been to despise the fact that God chastened Ham. See, if they saw this the way I see it in this Bible and realized that God chastened Ham, and so we became slaves because of the chastening. And that we should accept it. Can anybody, and I suppose it can be, the whole process can be tainted by the fact that maybe Shem or Japheth in particular were brutal, or that they were somehow or another, they were mean-spirited. But when God told Abram that his heritage or his children would be slaves to Egypt and they would be treated, roughly, brutally, that could somehow color it and say, well, God would never do something that would put our lives at jeopardy, where we would be, where somehow or another we would be, pained, dying, punished, castrated, hung. God would never do that. But no, he allowed it to happen to the Jews. I'm just being the typical James David Manning. The Lord spoke this to me this morning, early this morning. I had a good night's rest last night. And early this morning, the Lord spoke this to me, that it is the only remedy, but it is a surefire remedy, and it's a blessed remedy. And then anybody who's ever, if you're Japheth or Shemite, if you've had to ever work with a young black man or black people, old black men and black people in general, you know how difficult they are. They don't understand. They don't understand the discipline of this. They don't understand what they need to give of themselves. They don't understand it. And the more you demand of them for them to produce, the angrier they become. Wisdom, Mr. Engineer, you're acting with wisdom today, praise Almighty God. The angrier they become. Rather than saying, wait a minute, I must be missing a gene, I'm missing an intellectual strength. I think my boss is mean or he's indifferent or he ain't the smartest guy in the world. And besides, I went in the bathroom after he was in there and the place smelled like if you could canister that stuff, the way the bathroom smelled after my father was in there with my boss, if you could canister that stuff, you could sell it on the market as a warfare thing because it smells so bad. So because his bathroom visit smells so bad, that means he ain't perfect. So I don't have to listen to anything he says. I mean, the tricks of the devil. If you ever have to work with black people, they're trouble. And most places I go now, I only see black people working. They're all out on the street unemployed. You see Latinos, now they're Hamites, but they're a different breed. And it's everybody who's ever had to employ black folk know they're just almost impossible. Elder Salem gave it was a non-racial thing Elder Salem gave back here this summer regarding, having to evaluate the working habits. But they don't understand. They think that somehow or another you're mean. And coupled with that, they're not really given the hard work unless they express it. Well, I believe this is kind of hard work. I think it's hard work, so I'm doing this, and you ought to accept what. No, but we don't. So listen, if I can explain this, and I'm sure I'll be able to do it. If I can explain this, that the one thing that will set the Hamite, give him full freedom and full equality, is that if he would live his life according to Proverbs chapter 3, the entire chapter, but specifically the first 20 verses. And more poignantly, Proverbs chapter 3 will set any man, Shemite or Japheth, will set him on top of the world. Set him on top of the world. But verse 11 of chapter 3 for the Hamite is his salvation. That's his salvation. If we can look and see, Evangelist Hundley, if we can look and see and say, wait a minute, Noah chastened, he chastised Ham and his son Canaan. And we're not going to reject that. We're going to believe that Noah did it because he loved us. And we're going to recognize now that authority that Noah had, that authority came from God. And so rather than having an approach spiritually, universally, of rebelling or countering the authority that God, listen, people, listen when I talk to you. God gave Shem the authority to enslave us. God gave Japheth, that's the white man, the authority to enslave us. I'm going to take a break. My daughter, Deborah Love, is going to sing Ave Maria. She's going to be performing this. She's a postgraduate student now at Juilliard School of Arts here in New York City. She's a postgraduate student of Juilliard. She has a great career. This was done maybe 10 years ago in Times Square, where all our children went down. We just had a party in Times Square. I went down there and took over Times Square. They'll tell you I have a takeover spirit. I took over, so I prompted her up to sing. I'm going to let her sing, and then I'm going to come back and deal with this earth-shaking, groundbreaking rhema revelation that God chastened Ham. And he did it because he loved us. That God gave the white man the authority to enslave us, and he did it because he loved us. And if we don't be weary in it, God is going to bless us. I'm going to let you listen to my daughter sing, and I'll be right back. It's the Christmas season, and so I thought I would introduce that. I know that the message I have is all important, but we have great editors that can later package this message together in such a consistent way. But I also want to just remind all of our members and friends that Deborah performed that song before she entered Juilliard. This is going back about 10 years ago, maybe a few, 7, 8 years ago. But she had not entered Juilliard, had not been accepted at Juilliard, had not had the opportunity for Juilliard to touch that very beautiful and precious voice that she carries around with her everywhere she goes. It was a great time, and I pray all the young people, if they're in class today, get an opportunity to see themselves when they were much younger, much shorter. I think Truth and Mariah were much, much shorter in those years if they saw themselves, and Anna as well, and some of the others. And I just wanted to reminisce about that. But let me go back to this teaching from Solomon's University and Solomon's Space about Proverbs being the only way in which the Hamite brothers going to enjoy true freedom and equality, and moreover, until the Hamite man understands and enjoys true freedom and equality, I think that the rest of the world is not going to be able to enjoy it either, because there's always going to be that tension. But listen, what I initially started out teaching was how you respond, and I'm talking, literally or generally here, how anyone responds to their father is how they're going to respond to all authority. And it's very important that the fathers take a strong role in demonstrating and preventing or corralling or correcting his children. and that he teaches them to respect and love that authority because he loves them. But if he's a weak man and he doesn't mete out the appropriate authority and doesn't bring the kind of correction, and many times a rod of correction on his children, they're going to respond to everybody in their lives the same way, which is going to be disastrous. The school teacher, what did I say before? The school teacher, the policeman, the pastor, and their employer. They're not going to go very far in life because they don't know how to respond to authority. And the thing that you have to realize, once they reach a certain age and they have not been constrained by the power of authority, they reach 16, 17 years of age, and they've not been constrained by authority, they're not going to do well in school. And if they do, they're not going to do, it isn't going to be the best that they can do. And every authority figure that they meet, they're going to reject it because they don't have the premise of understanding. If that father didn't lay the groundwork, and the problem with the Hamite is that literally every household with Hamites these days, except for maybe about 10%, does not have a man in the house to mete out authority. So that boy is just running wild from the first year, second year, third year. By the time he's 5 years old, he is wild. By the time he's 8, 9 years old, he's uncontrollable. By the time he's 13, he's incorrigible. There's nothing you can do with him if there's no father in the house. So when he meets the police are going to bust a cap on him. He's going to end up in prison. He's going to have a few children before he go, and they're not going to have an authority figure. So this matter has been compounded fiercely upon the Hamite people as if you will, as a disease. And most of the young Hamite men that you see today, they do not respect authority. They don't. That's why they get shot down the street by the police. I'm not trying to hear here, until this is understood. And then the other factor is that if the father's in the house and he's a weak man, and he doesn't exert authority, he doesn't correct, then that child is going to be, and so listen, I'm an employer myself. I mean, I hire a lot of people at work, and I've been around the barn a few times. I can tell you, were it not for Willie Patterson down in Red Springs, North Carolina, and the supportive authority of his family, and even with that, by the time I got 16 years of age, I was ready to fight him. No, I was ready to fight him at the time of 16 years of age because the people in my general family, immediately cousins and all that kind of stuff, were telling me I didn't have to listen to him because he wasn't my real authority. So I said, well, I'll fight him then. I'll have to respond to this. But thank God that the authority that he did exert and that I did respond to did keep me this far. But I can tell you, that my whole life turned around on the fact that he did exert some authority in my life. And a lot of people who probably say, well, he wasn't your real father. No, but he's a man that put a roof over my head. He's a man that, listen, when I sat down at his table and ate his molasses and biscuits, those are his biscuits I was eating. And if he didn't put it on the table, I was going to go hungry. Whether he was my real father or not, my real father wasn't putting no biscuits and molasses and meat skin on the plate or no roof over my head. And so I respect that. And throughout the length and breadth of my ministry, I've been giving them respect. Probably a lot of folk hear me say that and say, I shouldn't do it. No, but I've learned to respect authority. And then, of course, I've had the opportunity to intermingle with a whole lot of Hamite men. And 99.9% of them have no respect for authority. And one of the reasons why, this ministry moves in the direction that it does, or people respond to it the way, there are a lot of men that ought to be in this church now. But the problem is that they were not raised under authority. When they come to me, I'm going to exert authority, and they don't want to deal with that. They don't want you coming nowhere near them. They want me to tell them to rebel against the police, rebel against the government, rebel against this, march against this, civil rights about that, blame the white man. That's what they want to hear. And if I was talking that, you couldn't get in this house. There'd be so many of them. Because that is, and this is not just now, this has been going on for centuries, if not for millenniums. This has been going on with the Hamite man. So you can see how deeply entrenched this problem is. How deeply entrenched. So I want to go back to the statement that, of course, how you display, how you respond. I'm counseling a husband, a young couple getting ready to marry. I said, now, the way I tell that young man, I said, now, the way this young girl has responded to her father, that's how she's going to respond to you, because you're going to be the authority in her life. But see, even that's an antiquated discussion now, because in marriages, the man is not an authority, not in these marriages, not today. He ain't the authority. The Apostle Paul said he's the head, but not, they go to the Bible and take everything else Paul said, but that they throw out the window. No, he ain't the head. No, this is 50-50. This ain't no business. And so that's where we are, and it continues to grow in terms of an epidemic. But until, see what Dr. King said, he said rebel against authority. Right. He called it civil disobedience. That's what he called. He called it disobey authority. He said it's civil disobedience, but the foundation of what Dr. King taught was disobey, civil disobedience, and then lifted it up beyond any place it's never been before. Civil disobedience to authority. You could argue, well, some of the things that the law, the society said that the authority said were wrong, or they were insensitive, or they were, if you will, prejudiced or racist, or they were injurious. You can say all those things, but disobedience to them was not the answer. And by the way, he didn't get that from Jesus. He didn't get that to turn the other cheek. He got that from some guy named Henry David Thoreau, who wrote Civil Disobedience. He was some sort of a, if you will, graduate of Harvard University. He had done a lot of writings and had developed this idea of disobedience to authority. Dr. King took it, brought it to black people. They ate it up like molasses and biscuits and meat skin, or like Kentucky Fried Chicken. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anybody out there listening to me. And I pray that Japheth and Shemites are listening to me, because they realize, listen, you talk to any Japheth man about trying to deal with black folk, they rebel. They just don't deal. They don't want to hear nothing about no authority. And if you're a Japheth, you're a white man employing black people, you got trouble. They're gonna come in with their mouths stuck out, want to get paid. That's the first thing they want to know, and then they don't want to do any work. And the first time you tell them, listen, if we don't get this done, whether they got to work all day, all night, we don't get a paycheck, we don't get a chance to eat. We got to get this done. You got to put aside all that racism, all that woke stuff, all that critical race theory. You got to put all that stuff aside, all that Black Lives Matter, put all that aside. Getting this job done is what matters. Getting a paycheck is what matters. They don't want to hear it. Any white folk, any Japheth person will tell you right now, Lord have mercy, that man is speaking the truth. And so they don't hire. So they realize, okay, I've tried with these black folk, and you just can't deal with them. They're incorrigible, so I'm not going to hire them. I'll go get somebody who has a sense of authority, and comes in to go to work, and he comes in to train. And maybe his father has taught him so I'll deal with him. I'll deal with Latinos. I'll deal with Mexicans. I'll deal with Chinese. I'll deal with anybody except black folk, because these people, they don't have a sense of authority, of even importance. Even if they did have, sometimes they're raised in a home where the father didn't have that, because his father didn't teach it. And so black people, then the byproduct of that is that the black man's unemployed. So he's on the street. He can't get a job. Somebody else can get a job, and he doesn't understand why he's unemployed. He doesn't understand why he rejects authority. He thinks it's his right thing to do. We were slaves. So, in order for us to be able to appreciate full quality freedom and equality, we're going to go back to Proverbs chapter 3. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord. Let me let me turn a corner for just a second. I don't want to go too far away from that subject matter. And again, I want to state that imagine this. Imagine if there was a movement afoot that would bring all Hamites far and wide to a unifying point where they would say, according to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11, Mr. Engineer, put it back up for us one more time. Well, they would say, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11, we understand here now that Noah chastened his son Ham and his grandson Canaan. And we're not weary of that. We accept it. And we accept it because we believe that Noah loved his son Ham and his grandson Canaan, and he had the authority to do it. But all these years, we have been either weary of it, disrespecting of it, disapproving of it for more than several thousand years. But we've now come to the point where we recognize that was the hand of God. We come to the point that God put us in slavery. And we do not reject that any further. We realize that God put us in slavery to Japheth and to Shem, and we don't reject that any further. We realize that. And so I think that the idea here is that would that change the world? I don't want to be pessimistic, and I don't want to be anti this Rhema word coming from Solomon University. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I have to tell you, it is in the sense of Matthew's Gospel, chapter 13, verse 14, 15, and 16 and following, where Jesus said they have ears, but they don't hear, they have eyes, but don't see, is that I don't believe that the majority of people are going to see this as a truth, that they've just gone too far down the road of disobedience and rebellion rather than responding to authority and chastening of the Lord. That is not why I believe God's given this to me to give to you. I think there'll be a few of you that will hear this and will understand it, and that we will have the process through outlaw to develop this. But there is so much opposition. There have been so many hundreds of years where the Hamite man has hated, despised the authority that Noah had when he chastened Ham. I don't know that he's going to receive it. Then you would ask, Pastor Man, then why are you speaking it then? Why is it that I'm speaking it? Because it's truth. And there are going to be a few people who will understand this very narrow truth, and their world will change. Their life will change. But I mean, let me put it to you this way. Jesus came and he taught, healed, and he left his word. But not everybody on planet Earth is going to accept it. And some of them are going to go to hell. Now, there will be a few that will find that straight gate. There will be a few that will find that narrow way. There will be a few. But the broad way is the popular way. And there's going to be a whole lot of people on that road going to hell. And that's what Jesus said. That's what Jesus said. Can I just share this with you as well? I've done a lot of teaching of God's word. I've met the Lord Jesus Christ. You don't have to believe that if you don't want to. You can go ahead and I'm not going to fall out with you. But I just never thought that I would come to this understanding. And I have to tell you that I wouldn't be in this understanding were it not for Solomon's space. So I think that I have increased beyond 20%. I think I've gone far beyond that in terms of my own reach with the Lord And I believe that anybody who's hearing me now and understand that that's the problem with the black man. He just don't understand authority. So therefore, the whole world is subject to authority, and he doesn't understand the world. He's unemployed. He's unemployable. He's the last and the least. And he doesn't understand how to apply that. I just never thought that I would get here. But I do want to say this, that if you were hearing me, remember the ancillary teaching I said about if you reach your hand into the mud puddle and you pick up a coin, you're going to get water, mud, and dirt, and a whole lot of other stuff is going to be on that. But the coin is what you were looking for, but there's a whole lot of ancillary thing. I believe anybody who's hearing me right now and understanding clearly what I'm saying, I believe that you have increased simply, and everything else around your life is going to increase by 20% as well. Because you're going to have the ancillary, if you will, effect of knowing this basic truth. And the other thing is that it explains to that wife why her husband is not a success, because he rejects authority. Not that he could not be a good man, and not that he's not a good lover in bed. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. Why isn't he a success? Why isn't he a success? And the reason being is because he rejects authority. And explain to that father why he is not what he needs to be. And explain to that father what he's got to do to his son. He has absolutely got to, he's got to straighten his son out before his son meets a police officer. He's got to straighten his son out before his son gets a job. He got to do that. He's got to straighten his son out before his son can ever deal with a pastor. He got to get all that craziness out of him and help him appreciate authority. A good father can then begin to, there's enough of us here listening today that can recognize this. And then I know what they're talking about now, but a good father will let that daughter know, if you're going to have a good relationship with a husband, first of all, I ain't going to let you marry no man who doesn't have authority himself. I ain't going to let you marry no man who's not under my authority. That's the first thing. But then once you get married to him, I'm not going to let you exert authority over him. You're going to have to submit yourself to that man. You're going to have to do it, daughter. You're going to have to do it. I know what they're teaching out there in the world. I know, but that ain't God's way. So those of us who are here, and I'm going to shut this down in just a moment, but I have to tell you that I just never thought I'd get here. I mean, I didn't see Solomon's face. Elder Joseph Smith, I didn't see, I mean, when I said a few moments ago that rebellion against Noah's authority to chasten Ham, looking at what the wisest man on the planet, Solomon said, don't do that. Don't do that. Solomon said, don't rebel against Noah's authority against Ham and Canaan. Don't do that. But Elder Smith, for years I've taught it. I've said, I accept it. But I didn't see it the way I'm saying it now. Now that we've gone to Solomon's University, let me just shut this down. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Father, Heavenly Father, Heavenly Father, Heavenly Father. I thank you for this day. I thank you for this day. I consider this day a day of victory. Jesus, when I was in that jail cell with you, it was a wonderful experience. 3 days. But I don't know that I felt closer to you then than I do now. And it could be just an issue of my growth. But this Solomon space, and even the place where our church is now, I've never heard a judge plead for people the way that judge pleaded for us this morning. So I'm thankful, Jesus. I am thankful for this word. I'm thankful. And in your name, Jesus, I pray and give thanks. Amen.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. So what does that mean? It's time to purchase your Christmas gifts from BetheliteMarketplace.org, where we have fine china, beautiful glassware, unique dishes and vases, musical instruments, jewelry that is sure to make you dazzle, wonderful apparel, and so much more. So, hurry today and place your order and enjoy a 50% off for a limited time. 'Tis the season to purchase your gifts from Bethelite Marketplace. Call 877-777-0734 and place your order today.
One day I will say Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. One day I will say Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. I hope someday you'll find your way to see him too. One day I will see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. One day I'll see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. Come and go with me, and things will never be the same with you. One day I will see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. One day I will see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. Angels sing. Here is our King. Oh, let the guitar play this song I sing. Someday I'll see Jesus. Someday I'll see the angels too. Someday I'll see Jesus. Someday I'll see the angels too.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Well, if you have funds to give Christmas gifts, go to the Bethelite Marketplace and do some shopping there at the Bethelite Marketplace and give people gifts from that very, very exclusive website that we have, where you can give people some really, really classy antiques and gifts and stuff that just have a lot of meaning to it, rather than buying somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, or an umbrella, or giving them whatever it is, give them one of these very special gifts we have at the Bethelite Marketplace, right? And the other thing is that we have a lot of china, a lot of tea sets, and a lot of beautiful pewter and bowls and glasses, and just a lot of beautiful stuff, antiques. And you should buy something just to decorate. Look at this. I'm the Lord's servant. I'm asking now is to give truth a chance. All I've ever told anybody is the truth. Now, just because you didn't understand it doesn't mean it's not true.
Hear the lies being told from the top. Every time you turn around, it just don't seem to stop. When you're ready to move far beyond that same old dance, all you gotta do is listen, yeah, and give truth a chance.
Give truth a chance.
Everybody,
give truth a chance.
come on and sing it.
Give truth a chance. Give truth a chance.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Welcome, everybody, to the Manning Report. I am Manning, the quintessential American, sitting in for the Sabbath Rachel LaFleur. I did a great job on yesterday while we were visiting with the optometrist. We've got very gray skies. In fact, we've had rain early this morning, last night, and it continues even to this present moment. So you're going to all gray out there. I don't know if that's battleship gray, but it definitely is gray skies above New York City today as we find ourselves at the last day, dating this message, the last day of November, heading into the month of December. Got a lot of things we're going to cover today. Had a very exciting time today with the Trust in the Lord Hour. And I have to tell you as well that we are, had a court date today with the federal bankruptcy judge, and there are several things that are going on that I need to talk to you about. We're possibly going to have to raise a whole lot of money within the next few weeks, and so I'm going to be laying that process out to you about why that's important for us going forward. But I have to say this. I have, with respect to my having been in court now for most of my life, whether it was criminal court or civil court or bankruptcy court or working to defend this church through the court proceedings, I don't know if I've ever heard or seen, or even on television or in movies or in real court experiences, justice the way I saw it today. And I don't know whether or not it's appropriate to actually record a judge and then play it back. And I don't certainly want to offend the judge in any way. And by the way, what I'm saying about the judge's mercy towards us today does not mean that we could potentially still lose this building in a foreclosure and lose like that in a heartbeat. It could be gone. The possibility is real. But I've not seen anyone other than myself and Jesus stand up for this ministry the way this judge stood up for us today. And not so much. I mean, listen, if we don't do something quick, the bank gonna take this property. So that's to be clear about what we'll be clear about. I'm not here saying it's all over. We got to have some money. No, we do. We got to have some money, and we got to have it fast, quick, and in a hurry. Let me express that. But beyond saying that, I just have never seen anything or witness anything like what I witnessed this morning in court. We were in court this morning, and I've got a lot of things I want to report to you about what's going on politically. As you know, I get down to the nitty gritty of political news, but has the tide turned? Now, please understand, we're going to need some money. We're going to need everybody to make every sacrifice and give us every penny you got in the piggy bank. No, we're going to need that. But having said that, that's not where I'm at right now. I am at a point where I have just never seen anything or heard anything like what I heard and saw. I've not seen it on television. I've not seen it in movies. And I think the thing that makes it so critical is that everybody and their brother knows who I am and knows what we do and knows that the world is against us. And they know that. They know that. But, I mean, it's just, it's just, we'll talk more about that when I get the opportunity to do so. But please be mindful of your gifts to the church and to the ministry and how important that is. All right, so let's get started. First thing I want to do today now is that I want to look at the issue of what happened yesterday in federal court down in Washington, D.C. with the conviction and the sentence and the verdict coming in against the Oath Keepers. 5 of them were convicted on yesterday too. Stuart Rose and Kelly Meggs were both convicted on seditious conspiracy with a sentence that carries as much as 20 years in a federal pen, along with obstruction of a political process, where the others also convicted as well. And so, excuse me just a second. So I want to be able to look at it. Let me say this to you. When we did our Gettysburg racial and reconciliation meeting, I contacted the Philadelphia leader of the Oath Keepers. This is going back, it was 2012, 2014. So we're looking at least, 7, 8 years. And the Philadelphia chapter of the Oath Keepers said they would come. They would come in their military garb. Many of them are retired. They Oath Keepers. And many of them have been in the military, the police, and some of them are retirees. They said they would come, and they would stand with me in Gettysburg. And if you have seen some of our promos, you've seen those men that carrying those flags at that event at Gettysburg. And they invited me to become an Oath Keeper, and I did. Now, in my acceptance of being a member of the Oath Keepers, I did not accept that membership with the express intent to overthrow our government. That was not my intent. My intent was to uphold the Constitution, to uphold the oaths that we take that make us a proud and prosperous nation. I in no wise intended to ever seek to overthrow or undo the process of our nation. Now, maybe that came as a theory and a part of the process of Oath Keepers on a national basis, came sometime later. But I think I have to tell you that I did join the Oath Keepers. I did. And the other thing is that the people they accepted in Oath Keepers had been someone who had taken a previous oath, either to the military or to police or to some other constitutional governmental agency. And I have taken an oath to neither one of those, but they allowed me in because they heard my passion for this nation. Having said that, I have met with Stuart Rhodes. I've had lunch with him. I've been in conferences with him. He spoke at one of our meetings in Gettysburg. He addressed us there. I addressed a meeting out in the Ohio chapter of Oath Keepers. I flew out to Detroit and then went into Ohio, and Stuart and I, we had dinner together. We had lunch together. So I know him well, and he knows me well. And now to see him get, convicted on yesterday, and I've been watching the trial very carefully and wondering when I should reveal to you that, that I'm an Oath Keeper, but I'm not of the mindset of overthrowing our nation. Let's be clear. I love America. I'm not of the mind. I was once a supporter of Tribulation Trump, Donald Trump. I was once a supporter of him, but I do not now. I do not now, and I've explained why I do not. Ms. Inja, put it back up again. Thank you so very much for that. Put it back. But I do want to say I think that it would be hypocritical of me. And I'm going, while I think that our nation, I don't know what happened in the election. I don't. I would like to think that it was a fair election. I'd like to think that Joe Biden won that election fair and square. Now, please listen to me very carefully if you're going to judge me. But my friends, I want to tell you, the things I've had happen to me in court, the things I've had happen to me in society, the things I've had happen to me that paraded itself as justice was anything but that. Do I believe that it's possible that corruption could have influenced the 2020 election? And I'm not an election denier. Joe Biden is the president, as I understand it right now. And as I understand it, Donald Trump lost. But how did he lose might be another question. It might be a deeper, more poignant question. How did he lose? I would have never gone down to Washington, D.C. I would have never gone down there to overthrow the government. I would have never done that. Not in a million years, not in a million lifetimes. I would have never done that. And for the past 5 years, I've tried to warn people about Donald Trump, that he is a con man. He is not a conservative. He is about as liberal as they get. He's more liberal than Don Lemon on CNN, Donald Trump is. But he understands how to use people. He's one of the best I've ever seen do it. He's good. The man's good. He's a servant of Satan. I've tried to in my broadcast. A lot of my friends from across the conservative, if you will, media, Tea Party track deserted me because I would not step further into the lies and treachery of Donald Trump. And I have to tell you, I'm so glad. I separated myself from him years, even before he won the presidency, I separated myself from him. Because perhaps I would have been down there. I would have been caught up, because the deeper you get into it, the deeper you get into the spin, the deeper you get into the whole process, the worse it becomes, and you can't get out of it. I got out of it soon. Having said that, I do plan to communicate to Stewart Rhodes. I do. And I didn't have to tell you this. I didn't have to tell you that I'm an oath keeper. I didn't have to tell you that. Now, again, I do not subscribe to overthrowing our nation. I don't subscribe to that, and I will not support nor stand by anybody who does. But I have to tell you, this man and we sat down and had dinner together. He spoke at one of my meetings in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We've had communications, and he's treated me as an honorable man. This man you see here. Am I trying to cleanse my soul? Leave that there, Miss India there. Am I trying to cleanse my soul? I don't think so. But I believe at the time I joined the Oath Keepers that this nation was going in the wrong direction. And do I need to tell you now that this nation is a hell of a lot worse now than it was then? It's just headed in the wrong direction. I saw the political process as being utterly corrupt. I tell you what, here, let me tell you what I do think about presidential elections. I think the election that was dedicated and given to Hillary Clinton was stolen by Barack Hussein Obama and a lot of other business people who stole that election from and that presidency twice. They stole it from Hillary Clinton. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Joe Biden stole it from Trump. That's all. But I will I will stand in the middle of Times Square. I'll stand in Macy's showcase window and say, I know in my heart that the 2008 election was stolen from Hillary Clinton, and given to Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, and come right back around in 2016, and they stole it again. The same thieves that stole the election from Hillary in 2014 stole it from 2008, stole it from her in 2016. I'm willing to testify in court. I am. I'm willing to testify. Now, about 2020, I don't know. I said I don't know. But I think you ought to know. I think you ought to know that they made Pastor Manning a member of the Oath Keepers. I think you ought to know. Now, I don't want to be no hypocrite. I looked at my membership card the other day. I don't want to be nobody's hypocrite. Now, this can cost me some, if you will, followers or members or listeners or supporters, then so be it. So be it. So be it. But I ain't going to be nobody's hypocrite now. I ain't going to be nobody's hypocrite. Now, again, I'll say again and again and again and again that I'm not, and I will not, if Oath Keeper requires of me to arm myself or to try in any way to overthrow this nation and this government, I ain't going. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do it because I love America. But I do have to tell you that there does come a time when a nation is so corrupt that one must defend itself against its corruption. Is that time now? And is what the Oath Keepers did, was that the appropriate? I'm not going to make a judgment on that. What I will do, I will respect the decision of the federal court in D.C. and the jury's verdict. I'll respect that. I'll respect that verdict. I'll respect the trial. I will. But I can tell you this, that there comes a time when a nation can become so corrupt that you have to have a revolutionary war. Now, I'm not here promoting that. I just don't want to be a hypocrite. And I've been watching, I've said I'm repeating myself. And I say, Pastor Manning, move on because you're repeating yourself. Well, I'm going to leave you alone in just a moment. You can go about your business after this. But I've been watching this trial. And, it isn't like I know of Stuart Rhodes. I know the man. We've had, you talk about Kanye West and Nick Fuentes having dinner with Trump. I had dinner with this man. We've been in meetings across America together, at least in Ohio and in Pennsylvania. I think I owe it to him, and I owe it to Jesus and to you to tell you that, I'm a member of the Oath Keepers, and I did not. After January 6th, I did not withdraw my membership or denounce my membership. If I need to do that, if that becomes something I need to do as an issue, I'll consider it. I'll consider it. But I'm praying for Stuart Rhodes and for the others as well. I have to say this, and I'm going to let you go. We're living in a very corrupt time, and I'm sure you know that there is much corruption. I tell you what I believe. I believe that the election between Richard Nixon and John Kennedy in 1964, whatever it was, I believe that it was hijacked by Mayor Daley out there in Chicago, and that Richard Nixon should have been the president, and John Kennedy, the son of a trafficker in bootleg liquor, became the president because of money and influence. That's what I believe. I'm willing to go to jail if anybody wants to call me un-American for believing it. I believe that John Kennedy and his daddy, bootlegger, I believe that's what took place with that presidential election. That's what I believe. I believe that I believe that Barack Hussein Obama and a bunch of deep-pocketed, if you will, people with money here in America stole the election from Hillary Clinton. George Soros at the head of it. George Soros at the head of the pack and a bunch of other globalists stole the election from Hillary Clinton twice. Now you want to put me in jail? Want to stop being a follower? You want to stop listening to me because I believe that? Well, I believe it. I believe it. And so now, is it possible that the election could have been stolen? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that it's happened before. That's what I'm saying. And I'm also saying that I would never have charged up Capitol Hill or taken up arms against this nation, because I do believe it. I would have taken it to the Lord in prayer. That's what I would have taken it to the Lord in prayer. When Barack Obama stole the election from Hillary Clinton, I took it to the Lord in prayer. I feel better that I've said these things to you. I feel better. And I'm going to contact Stewart Rhodes, and there are more people in the Oath Keepers. But listen, America's corrupt. And anybody who says that the Democrats' hands are clean, that they've never done anything wrong, that their bathroom, if you will, entrances and exits, occupation don't smell, only Republicans or conservatives are the only wicked ones, is bias. And bias is too cute a word. We're in the tribulation. That's what we are. We're in the tribulation. God told me, God, his name is Jesus, told me Donald John Trump is the biggest con man that ever lived. He's a servant of Satan. God also told me that Barack Hussein Obama, biggest fraud that ever lived. He's the son of Satan. Now, me, I'm the Lord's servant. That's who I am. That's who I am. That's who I am. And let me just say this. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not a Democrat. Definitely ain't that. I'm not a Republican. Sure enough, stomped on ain't that. I'm not a liberal. Ain't gonna never be. And I'm not a conservative. I'm not that. I'm not a red boy or a blue boy. I'm the Lord's servant. Listen, I'm not here in support of Joe Biden and Camelback ain't Black Harris. The last thing on the planet Earth would be I'd be supporting them. I'm not. I don't have anything kind to say about them. I'm not here in support of Trump or any of the Trump supporters. I'm not. I'm the Lord's servant. I ain't on nobody's side. I'm on the Lord's side. Let's be clear. All right? They'll be calling me a Biden supporter and I done flipped the wig and this, that, and the other. I did endorse Trump. I'll admit that. I did, but not now.
Judge Kahn, I have just 2 words to say to you. Jenny Craig. Judge Bluth. Apparently you aren't very good at geography. Ottawa is located near Marcus Garvey Park, the Apollo Theater, and Malcolm X Boulevard. So in this holy neighborhood, we Hamite leaders have a long history of not giving a damn about you dumbass bastards. Mellon Bank, you money changers want to come into the Ottawa Temple and charge $10 million and not expect Dr. Manning to take a whip and chase you off of our property? Hear the word of God, you banksters. Ezekiel 18:13, you hath given forth upon usury, and hath taken increase. Shall he then live? He shall not live. He hath done all these abominations. He shall surely die. His blood shall be upon him. You filthy lucre whores, put that in your portfolio. on your way to a burning eternal hell.
Maro mihitsy olo miteny. Maro zany le olo miteny fa misy sasany miteny izy zanakanao lera za tsy mahavoataizany mihitsy. De eka oa, fanjara koa izy ty fa defa tezaiko foana fa ataoko zay mahabe anazy.
It is a belief that a cleft can be a curse, so often even from when they're born, they are rejected children.
Efa voateraka izy, efa hitany ma izy nisy problème, de izy niteny hoe tsy zanako, hoe mitaranaka anay tsisy an'io. Izy boko lasa, de juste raha vaviko amizay zao nanampinampy anakaty.
If we can change her life early when she's still young, then she can just live a normal life and be a normal person, and it will make a massive difference to her whole life. It's not just the physical appearance, it's being able to eat and also speech.
Mety gaga donc olo mahita anazy amizao io.
This is about really changing people's lives. It's not just a few individuals, it's individuals that make up communities. They can be re-established in their village a lot easier when they look more normal.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. So what does that mean? It's time to purchase your Christmas gifts from BetheliteMarketplace.org, where we have fine china, beautiful glassware, unique dishes and vases, musical instruments, jewelry that is sure to make you dazzle, wonderful apparel, and so much more. So, hurry today and place your order and enjoy a 50% off for a limited time. 'Tis the season to purchase your gifts from Bethelite Marketplace. Call 877-777-0734 and place your order today.
All right, we are at a very pivotal time in terms of what's happening politically in our nation. If you're watching what's happening with Kevin McCarthy, who wants to be Speaker of the House more than I want to serve Jesus, that boy wants to be Speaker, but it appears that he is 5 votes away from making that event take place. And what he's going to have to do, or the hoops he's going to have to jump through in order to be able to achieve that very lofty position as third in position to be President of the United States of America, it appears that we're going to end up with Kevin McCarthy as Speaker, but the deals he's going to have to make is going to leave our nation in just what Jesus prophesied. Now, I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear that Bible talk. Y'all don't want to hear nothing about no tribulation, and most of y'all don't believe in God, and, you just don't. And if you do believe in God, you believe he's a God of convenience. And all this tribulation talk I've been talking about, and nation against nation and kingdom against nation, we don't want to hear that. But the other item is this, is that the reality of it is that it's a pretty tight fight between what I will refer to as the son of Satan and the servant of Satan in Barack Hussein Obama, and of course in tribulation Trump. So it's going to be a very nasty America going forward. The world is erupting. If you look at what's happening in China, it's almost unbelievable that the Chinese youth out in the street asking for Xi Jinping to step down as the communist leader. And then, of course, you've got the same kind of protests in Russia, and you got the war in Ukraine. We've got winter coming on. And we've got economic crisis here in America. We've got business people who are absolutely outright thieves. So I think that what we see going on here in America and across the globe right now is all tied into the tribulation prophecy. But I wanted to be able to express that in terms of where we're going to be 6 months from now. Could be an entirely new world with the Republicans running the House. And of course, you know, the other thing is that they're going to indict Donald Trump. The liberal media and you know, the liberal Democrats, they are in they think they're on a roll right now. And they're going to listen. Fonnie Willis down in Atlanta, Georgia, has been able to get Lindsey Graham and Mark Meadows, who've got to testify before that grand jury. They're going to indict Trump in Georgia. It's going to be a very serious indictment for Trump to try to prove that he wasn't trying to bribe or change the outcome of a federal election. It's going to be very much uproad. And the matter of the documents in Mar-a-Lago is a pretty open and shut case. I mean, there's not much there that a lawyer can get his teeth in. It's just a matter of when Jack Smith and Merrick Garland are going to drop the indictments, and Trump going to have to, you know, appear before a judge in handcuffs. Now, I'm not saying this gleefully, understand? I'm not saying this. I'm trying to get somewhere. Just listen to me before we make any judgments about me. And then, of course, the media network is stirring up this dinner that Trump had with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West as if it was if it was hell itself having come to dinner. While you may disagree with Nick Fuentes, communist ideologies, you know, these same people running around here that in the liberal media, you know, these Eddie Glaudes and these Cornel West and all these other Van Jones are running around here talking about how awful it is for Trump to have met with Nick Fuentes. But the Black America still cherishes a communist named Paul Robeson. And they still cherish a communist named Angela Davis. Now, here, I'm just being the quintessential James David Manning. I'm just trying to give you some historical context. You know, they still, and many people that were, even Dr. King was very much involved in some, if you will, dabbling in communist ideology. And then the granddaddy of all of this is that Nelson Mandela was an avowed Marxist communist. He was an avowed communist Marxist. And that they lifted him up, gave him great honor, bring him to the church and, you know, and compare him as a great leader. And yet he was a communist. Nelson Mandela was a communist leader, demonstrated. Yet you got the Van Jones and the Eddie Glaudes and all the rest of them. You've seen that parade of house-nosed Negroes, pinch-nosed Negroes all on television everywhere. And then you got all these Jakes, if you will, and Shemites, that is Jewish people, talking about how awful it was for Trump to sit down with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West. How awful it was for him to have done that. But you know, and I'm not saying that Trump should have done that. I'm just trying to say, where's the justice here? You know, where's the justice? You said, Pastor, man, what's wrong with you, man? He's former president. He's the president. It's one thing if Eddie Glaude sits down with Nelson Mandela, or, you know, or Barack Obama sits down with Nelson Mandela, whoever else sits down with a communist. But if the president of the United States, I don't know that there's a big difference. I don't know, the guy who owns Branson Airlines who sat down with Nelson Mandela, they all were friends. I mean, I don't see the big deal. What I do see is a lot of hypocrisy with the media controlling a certain aspect of it. And I'm just here being the quintessential James David Manning. I'm not for Trump. Everybody knows that. But I want to let me tell you. Okay, yeah. All right, finally, you made me say it. Here it is. The truth has no friends except for those that are free. Truth has two enemies, lies and power. Power is the breath of the wicked, and lies are as popular as air. Okay, there you made me say that. So I'm not here supporting I'm not here supporting Trump and Nick Fuentes. I'm not here supporting Van Jones and Nelson Mandela or anybody else and Angela Davis. I'm not here supporting them. Or James Baldwin, who's also was a communist, or Paul Robeson. These are all black people. They were black communists. I'm not here supporting them. I'm just saying this, that truth, which is what I'm speaking, has no friends, except for those who've been set free. And Jesus said in John's Gospel, chapter 8, verse 32, you shall know the truth about who has had dinner with communists before Donald Trump had dinner with a communist. You should know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Listen, let me tell you something. A moment ago, I was talking to you about Oath Keepers and Stuart Rhodes and everybody, and I went on, I ain't gonna be nobody's hypocrite. But I would have never participated in the insurrection. I never would have participated in January 6th. But can I tell you something? Can I tell you that Angela Davis and a couple of her communist friends shot up a courtroom in Marion County, California, to set free her boyfriend that was in prison for armed robbery. Angela Davis, a communist. But she's a black woman. Some say she's a good-looking black woman. Communist as they come. That's right. Paul Robeson, great voice, but communist, and saw communist Marxist ideas. Nelson Mandela, biggest communist with a black face anywhere on the planet. So I'm simply saying that, the truth has no friends. And the problem with Pastor Manning is that he speaks the truth. That's the problem with Pastor Manning. He speaks the truth. And as a result of that, truth has no friends. That's right. Except for those that have been set free, as Jesus said. The truth has two enemies, lies and power. And power is the breath of the wicked. They want power. You've heard the expression, speaking truth to power. And that's what I do. Doesn't matter, you're the president, you're the king, you're potentate, or you some bum laying in the street. Pastor Manning speaks truth. Power. And power is the breath of the wicked. And lies are as popular as and everybody, we live in the kingdom of lies. This is Satan's kingdom. Jesus said in John's Gospel, chapter 18, verse 36, this ain't my kingdom. Then whose is it? It's Satan's kingdom. That's what it is. This world we're living in. And it's a kingdom of lies. So a person like me that speaks truth, well, at any rate, I thought it needs to be said that, what are we going to say about all the people that knew that? I got a text from TMZ last week, and that text from TMZ said that Kanye West was showing naked, vulgar, pornographic pictures of Kim Kardashian to all the workers at Adidas and other places. Now, you can check this out I'm not spreading misinformation here, you algorithm people. You can check this out with TMZ. They're the ones that said it. Now, more recently, CNN and the other liberal outlet, MSNBC, saying that Kanye West, that Adidas and others are saying that Kanye West was difficult to work with, that he was rude and a bunch of other things. But they haven't mentioned the fact that he was showing his wife's, family jewels to all the boys that work at Adidas, that they got a first-hand, up-close look at Kim Kardashian's you-know-what, from every angle. So now. But all the time they were doing this, nobody said a word about how awful Kanye West was. And everybody's still promoting him. Listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. They're running Kanye West into the ground now, but let me tell you something. They knew who Kanye West was all the time. They just tried to keep it under wraps. They knew Kanye West was anti-Semitic. They knew Kanye West spoke his mind. They knew that all along. Adidas knew it all along. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, they knew it all along. All the rappers knew it. Hell, everybody else knew it as well. They just tried to keep it under wraps because communists or not, the boy was making money for them. Big money for them. And money was more important, whether you're an anti-Semite or not. You can be an anti-Semite all you want. But if you can bring in $1 billion to our corporation, we'll let you be an anti-Semite. Just keep it on the down low. I don't know why that phone is doing that. I got it on, that mode where it's not supposed to ring. You see how hypocritical they are? So now Trump sits down with him. I'm not even sure what Trump like him or not, but Trump sits down with him, all of a sudden the world is on fire. Hell has arrived at Mar-a-Lago, and now it's burning all over the liberal media. No, my friends, I think we need to take a closer look. We need to know the backstop and the backstory of all of this. I remember Angela Davis, and I studied Paul Robeson, and I lived through Nelson Mandela. They're all communists. But they're revered, they're taught in the black schools, they're taught as a part of black history, they are elevated. And so was W.E.B. Du Bois. But ain't nobody saying nothing wrong. That Eddie Glaude and all the rest of them sitting down and praising these communists, because they're all communists. And I'm not here defending Nick Fuentes. I don't even know the man. I'm not here defending Trump. I'm just speaking the truth. And that's what set me free. I'm just speaking the truth, which has very few friends. And I'm speaking truth to power. So now let's see. Okay, let's see. Let's see what's going to happen. Joe Biden, my time, went over there and fist bumped with MBS over there in Saudi Arabia the other day after he hacksawed Jamal Khashoggi in Turkey, cut him up, put him in little pieces and fed him to the fish. And yet Joe Biden goes over there to this Muslim and fist bumps with him. And that's okay. That's all right. It's okay to do that. But nah, don't sit down to dinner with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West. All right, so that's where we are. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. I'm the Lord's servant. I'm the quintessential American. Let me just say a word to you as we move forward. I need to tell you that the Bethlehem Marketplace is a place where y'all need to be doing some shopping. And if you do, you're going to help us raise the funds that we need to stave off the foreclosure and to be able to save our church property. And so I would suggest to you that you would, I tell you what, better than me talking. Mr. India, just bring it up. Let them see what we have to offer through that process. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Well, if you have funds to give Christmas gifts, go to the Bethlehem Marketplace and do some shopping there at the Bethlehem Marketplace and give people gifts from that very, very exclusive website that we have where you can give people some really, really classy antiques and gifts and stuff that just have a lot of meaning to it rather than buying somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, or an umbrella or giving them whatever it is, give them one of these very special gifts we have at the Bethlehem Marketplace, right? And the other thing is that we have a lot of china, a lot of tea sets and a lot of beautiful pewter and bowls and glasses and just a lot of beautiful stuff, antiques. And you should buy something just to decorate. Look at those spoons and those pewters, You could buy that collection of pewter cups, or that coffee place or those spoons, and for Thanksgiving. And really bring the people over rather than drinking out those glasses you've been drinking out. Oh, those mayonnaise jars. Y'all don't know what I'm talking. People don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but imagine setting your Thanksgiving table with those beautiful pewter and that beautiful silverware there, right? And it'll just be a beautiful thing. Well, oh, this is really nice. And we have beautiful platters and a lot of beautiful decorative bowls. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to the Bethelite Marketplace for your shopping, for Thanksgiving, for your dinner table, and for Christmas. Do that. And not only will you be a blessing by giving somebody something that's really meaningful, that will be around for a while. You give somebody a sweater or a pair of socks, they wear it once, and they'll take it back to the store and change it and get the money, and you won't even know that's what they did. But this is something that can be in family heirloom. You follow? Don't discount the Bethelite Marketplace. Go ahead now and do some shopping there and have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Do some shopping, and now some of those stuff has already been sold, but you'll find out. And you'll have give somebody a beautiful gift, some beautiful jewelry. By the way, look for those women who are on our mailing list outside of New York City and New Jersey. You're going to get, in about a week or so, 2 weeks, you're going to get a beautiful necklace called the Mercy and Truth necklace. But my friends, use the Bethelite Marketplace. That beautiful pewter set of cups will be a great place. You put a little wine in it, anyway. So this is just some beautiful stuff to make your Thanksgiving dinner. And surely do your Christmas shopping. You'll catch two birds with one net. One is that you'll have a priceless gift that will last for hundreds of years, and you'll also help us fight the foreclosure that is beaming down on us every day as they're trying to take our building. Look at all that beautiful jewelry. That is some really beautiful stuff, really beautiful stones and some great artwork to that. Use the Bethelite Marketplace. Go to our website, click into the Bethelite Marketplace, and you'll be there. All right.
Hi, come in. Since the pandemic, I haven't had any house guests, so I decided to invite a couple of friends over. And guess what? They love the way I've redecorated. What's my secret? Bethelite Marketplace. They have wonderful items such as wall decor and fine china. So if you want to be the talk of the town, go to Bethelite Marketplace and hurry. Come to Bethelite Marketplace, the one-stop shopping dream.
All right, so we're back. And we've got a lot of things on our agenda. We pray that you have been following us in the Trust in the Lord Hour with respect to Solomon Space and Solomon University. And we want to thank all of you who have been following us thus far. And it appears that a number of people are beginning to clearly understand where we are and what God is doing through the power of this ministry. But I want to be able to say to you that we've got some very difficult times ahead of us, not just the fact that we got a foreclosure issue that is breathing down on us, but we got some global issues that are happening as well that I think that you need to just get ready for with respect to the power of the tribulation, because there's no way that any of us are going to be able to escape that process. I just did a segment about the truth, and I thank God for allowing me to make such statements as I have made. I'm looking at the deliverance of a people who are now not a people. And I did a teaching on this past Sabbath, and I think it's called The Failure of the House Negro. I didn't do it to be cute or funny. Well, when I listen to it myself, I laugh, but it's a very serious issue. And I thank God for God giving us the opportunity to make this kind of headway into the process every time it seems to me, and I say this as humbly as I possibly can, it seems to me every time that God lets me come to you, I've got something to say that's in a Pentecostal vein. It's called Rhema, and I'm just thankful. I told the church the other day, if God stopped using me the way he's using me, I would not want to live. So, Mr. Engineer, bring up that clip I did the other day of the failure of the House Negro. I also want to point out the failure, if you don't mind. Okay. Turn a corner here for just a second. The failure in the House Negro worship. That is to say that Hamites in particular, and some Shemites Japheth people too, worship the house Negro. Now, if you understand that worship of the house Negro, in other words, they think that's our deliverance. They're waiting for some house Negro to rise to a level of power that will deliver them. It's worship. They're waiting for some house Negro to rise, governor, mayor, president, king, and going to deliver the people. House Negro deliver. House Negro worship is everywhere among Hamites, a few Japheth people and Shemites as well. Right now, I taught in the Manning Report that there are 4 major cities in America, all now led by a house Negro. Mr. Engineer Sylvester Turner, who's the mayor of the 4th largest city in America, Houston. I'm going to say more about that in just a moment. Leave that up there, Mr. Engineer. Then, of course, you got Lori Lightfoot, who's the mayor of Chicago, 3rd largest city, house Negro. And then you got, of course, you got the Karen Bass, the recently elected mayor of Los Angeles, 2nd largest city in America. Then you got Pharaoh Eric Adams, mayor of the city of New York. These 4 are the house Negroes of the 4th largest city in all of America. There are no cities larger than those 4, and they're led by house Negroes. You know why? Because Negroes think that worship of house Negroes somehow or another going to deliver them. They're not looking to God. They're not waiting on the return of Jesus. They're waiting on the next election for their deliverance. That's what they're waiting for. Now, these house Negroes that you see there now, ain't no deliverance in them. And I'm going to talk about that in another way in just a moment. I think that the house Negro has a 300-year tradition. And by that I mean, for the first 150 years, the house Negro, y'all stand up for a moment. I might be talking about some of your relatives, or I might be listening in on one of your conversations you had last week. So you stand up, that way you'll have a place to get knocked down to. See, the house Negro phenomenon, tradition, is 300 years running since Hamites have been here in America the last 300 years. The first 150 years, the field Negro hated the house Negro. See, the field Negro, everybody started out as field Negroes. And then the house Negro got slick enough to find out how to con the boss man into letting him come in the house and get out the field. And so he put on a nice suit, was able to serve the master, and had influence. Slept in a room off from the regular, the big house. Now the field Negro, he was always out there in the field, and didn't have the best of food. You know the idea, you know the history of that. And so he was hated by the field Negroes, hated the house Negroes. Then after slavery, everybody thought, well, this politician named Abraham Lincoln, he has delivered us. Slavery is over with. So all that is over with now. So the house Negro in the field, nobody's in the field no more. Amen. But the house Negro kept on trying. Then the field Negro said, wait a minute, all of us can be house Negroes now. Wait a minute. Ain't no fields no more. We all can be house Negroes. Y'all take your seats. So the last 150 years, the whole worshiping strategy has been who can be the biggest and best house Negro. We're talking about deliverance. Now, I don't mean this to be a sermon just about black folk, but I'm trying to get somewhere. So anybody who isn't Hamite, please spare me the opportunity to teach you. I'm going to come back around in just a moment. But I have to be able to say this because I have to defend Atla. It wasn't me that chose Harlem. It wasn't me that chose Hamites. It was God. I'm just a messenger. But the message is for everybody. So the house Negro, everybody said, well, all can be house Negroes. Now, nobody's in the field. People started moving off the farms into Chicago, into New York, from Houston all the way west to Los Angeles, getting out them fields and getting in the cities. Because we could all be house Negroes now. At least that's what it was thought. In Houston, where Sylvester Turner is what I call the citadel of poverty in the modern day plantation, Houston, Texas, if you've ever been there. In Chicago, I call that the Mecca of death of black youth. You're a young man, you want to die? Commit suicide, just go to Chicago. They'll kill you. In LA, I call it the shrine of homelessness where Karen Bass is. Yeah. And New York is the capital of disgrace and economic outrage. People lost Harlem. That don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. It'd be like the Catholics moved into Mecca and took over Mecca. Black people lost Harlem. That's the craziest thing you ever want to hear in your life. How can they do that? I mean, how can they do that? How could the Muslims let the Catholics move in and take over Mecca? That's what it's like. That you lost Harlem. Why? Because Harlem was like being in the field. Moving to New Jersey, moving to Westchester County, moving to Long Island was like moving in with the house Negro, with the white man becoming a house Negro. Yeah, let's get out of Harlem, get out the field.